Hello class, my name is Gitanjali and you can call me Miss Stevens, and I'm going to be teaching you about the SAT questions. But first I wanted to ask you, what are your names?
Okay, so my name is Coral.
Nice to meet you, Coral.
And my name is Shilu.
Nice to meet you, Shilu. I'm glad you're taking my class today. So today I'm going to be teaching you about two different sections of the SAT. The first section is the sentence completion section, and the second section is the dual short reading section. So let's start with the first section, which is the sentence completion section. Now I'm going to explain to you different strategies that you can use for each section. I'm going to tell you them all, but that doesn't mean you're going to use all of them every single time. You might use only the ones that work for you. So first of all, let's look at this question in particular. Does anyone want to read it out for me?
Okay, so me.
Okay.
By the end of a long arduous hike, Chris was walking with a blank gait, limping slowly back to the campsite.
Awesome. So would the answer be, you're given 5 options here, and there will always be 5 multiple choice options. The first one is A, halting. Second one is B, robust. And the third one is C, constant. D, prompt. And E, facile. So for the first strategy here, it is, does anyone want to read it for me?
Read the sentence carefully and the entire sentence.
Read this, that's right. So make sure you read the whole sentence carefully and the entire sentence. The SAT is ready for partial readers. So they know they will trick you if you only read half of it. So make sure you read all the sentence because there's important information in every single part. So for the second one, anyone want to read the second strategy?
The second strategy is use clue words.
Right, so use clue words. So for this one, does anyone know? Well, I'll just tell you this time. For this one, I'll have you guess what the clue words are. So for this one, there's important words here. The first one is long. The second one is arduous. So I'm sure we all know what the word long means. But arduous means difficult. So this is talking about a very long and difficult hike. Another clue word here would be limping. So limping is when you can't walk properly, and slowly. So look for these adjectives that help explain what the blank word might be. So the third strategy is use the other clause. You might just focus on one clause. Before I start talking about clauses, I'll explain to you what a clause is. A clause is a part of a sentence. So in the SAT sentence completion questions, they usually have questions with 2 clauses. The first part with the blank, and the second part with more information and adjectives. So if you're just focusing on the first part and you can't tell the answer from the first part, you can look to the second clause, which might give you more information. Here it talks about him limping slowly, which is a very key piece, which we'll find out in a second. So for the fourth strategy, does anyone want to read what it is?
Make a plus or a minus.
Make a plus or a minus. That's right. So this is a great strategy if you have sort of a hunch if the word is used in a positive context or a negative context. So for example, for this blank, you would put either a plus or a minus, and you would put a plus or a minus on as many as you could here, and that would help you eliminate some words that don't match. For example, if you put a minus here and a plus here, you might be able to eliminate that answer right away because you know it's used in a positive context. So for this sentence in particular, would it have a positive context or way of being, or a negative context?
It's absolutely negative.
Yeah, that's right, it's negative because it just talks about it being a long, difficult hike, and when he's done, he's slowly limping back from it. So it's used in a negative context. So does anyone want to read the fifth strategy for me? Anticipate what the sentence is trying to say. Oh, sorry, I just read it for you. Anyways, there it is. Anticipate what the sentence is trying to say. So for this strategy, you might just cover these up or not look at them and figure out in your own mind, if you were making up a word to fill in that blank, what word would it be? What word would fill in that sentence well? And it probably won't be these words, it'll probably be a simpler word. But if you know what these words mean, and you can find a matching word to your word, then you found the right answer. So that's another strategy that you could use. Does anyone want to use the sixth strategy? Does anyone want to read it for me? Sorry.
Use a process of elimination.
Awesome. Use a process of elimination. So that's a good strategy if you have an idea of what some or all of these words mean. So for this one in particular, A, halting, means slowly and stopping every time. B, robust, means strong and healthy. C, constant, means at a continual rate over time. D, prompt, means on time and punctual. And E, facile, means very easily. So if you know what these words mean, you can cross off ones that absolutely don't fit the sentence. For example, E, facile, he wouldn't be walking easily back to the campsite because we've already talked about how it was long and difficult and how he's limping. So that absolutely would not make sense. You could cross that off. So after going through all of these, you would see that the answer is A, halting, using all your strategies, because halting means very slowly and stopping every time. So by the end of a long, arduous hike, Chris was walking with a halting gait, limping slowly back to the campsite. So he's walking slowly and stopping every time. Does anyone want to read the very last strategy that you would always use?
That's double check your answer.
Double check your answer. So you would fill it in just like I filled it in there, and you would say to yourself, does this answer feel right? Does it sound right? If it doesn't sound right, then you could go back and use the first 6 strategies again as often as necessary until it does sound right to you. So as I was saying, for question 2, sentence completion, I'm going to show you the best strategy for this one. Like I said, not every strategy works every time, so you have to find the one that's best for you and best for the question. So for this question, dangerously high winds blank attempts to begin the space shuttle mission on schedule, delaying the launch nearly a week. So the answers are A, thwarted, B, forfeited, C, implemented, D, discharged, or E, redoubled. So for this question in particular, I obviously already used the first strategy, which is read the sentence carefully and the entire sentence. But for this one in particular, I think that number 6, use a process of elimination, is one of the better strategies that you could use if you knew the vocabulary. So let's just say in this case you do. You'd know that A, thwarted, means prevented. B, forfeited, means to lose or give up. C, implemented, means to start a process from happening, to start it going. D, discharged, means to give up a person or a thing. And E, redoubled, means to increase in intensity or number. So if you know all that, you can tell that A, thwarted, which means the same as prevented or stopped, makes the most sense in this question. Reading it again, dangerously high winds, thwarted, or prevented, or stopped, attempts to begin the space shuttle mission on schedule, delaying the launch nearly a week. So that one would work best in that circumstance, in my opinion. However, the other strategies might work for you as well, so you can pick and choose the ones that you need for the sentence completion section of the SAT. Okay, so moving on to the dual short reading section, here in the SAT you'll be presented with 2 passages. Usually they have contrasting ideas from different authors. So in this case, author A is talking about how dolphins are very intelligent, almost as intelligent as humans. And I'm not going to read it all for you. I know you've read it on your own time. But you also know that author B is talking about how we can't tell how intelligent dolphins are. We simply don't have enough research to be able to compare dolphin intelligence to human intelligence or any other animal's intelligence. So for this question, this is a very typical dual short reading question. It's asking you to contrast or compare author A's opinion from passage A and author B's opinion from passage B. So the question is, the 2 passages differ in their opinion of dolphin intelligence in that passage 1 states that dolphins. So before I go on with this question, I'm going to tell you 4 strategies that you can use for the dual short reading section. The first one is the debate strategy. So in this one, you have to get a really clear idea of what these authors are saying. So in your mind, you have to know what author A is saying about dolphin intelligence and what author B is saying. And once you know that, you can think of, if they were to debate each other, if author A were to meet author B and debate, what would they agree on and what would they disagree on? So the important thing for this part is to focus on the main idea, so the most important points of author A and the most important points of author B. The little details are not as important. So for this one, as I already mentioned, author A believes that dolphins are very intelligent, and author B says we don't know how intelligent they are because we don't have enough research. So for number 2, another strategy you could use is underline important text and cross off unnecessary text. So for that one, I think everything is important in this question here, but in regards to the passages, for example, the first sentence of passage 1 I think is very important to author A's argument. It says, the intelligence of dolphins is well documented by science. That sentence basically sums up his entire argument. So you might want to underline that, and I know when you're writing the SAT, you'll be rushing and pressed for time, so when you look back here, you can immediately see what the important parts of this paragraph are. The third strategy is use a process of elimination. So some of these answers are clearly just plain wrong, some more than others. So does anyone know or can tell me which of these answers is just wrong? Like doesn't sound right or doesn't have to do with these passages at all?
Answer C is wrong because in the passage 2, the author didn't said the dolphin, like he didn't provide any improvement for that.
That's right. So for number C, it says passage 2 points out that dolphins are less intelligent than other mammals. It never says that anywhere here, just like you mentioned. So there's no proof for that. So obviously you can cross that one right off because there's no proof in the passages themselves. Is there any other one here that stands out that that has no evidence or proof in the passages?
I think B is also wrong because there is no evidence in the passage to say that dolphins outperform other animals.
That's right. So here it says, well, passage 2 notes that dolphins outperform other animals. Nowhere in passage 2 is that stated. Therefore, there's no evidence for that part, so you could cross that one off. So if you cross off B and you cross off C, you can also look at E and A. So E says the dolphins have large brains, while passage 2 argues that brain size does not signify intelligence. So passage A, as I'm sure you already know, says that dolphins have large brains here in the question. However, here in the passage, there's no information that says that or implies that. So you can cross off E as well. And for number A, it says dolphins in passage 1 share a sophisticated culture, while passage 2 contends that dolphin intelligence is roughly equal to human intelligence. So the first part of this is right. However, passage 2 contends that dolphin intelligence is equal to human intelligence. As you know, when you thought about the main argument of author B, he doesn't think that you can even compare dolphin intelligence to human intelligence. So that answer would be wrong and you could cross it off. And that just leaves you with answer D, that in passage 1, it states that dolphins are highly intelligent, while passage 2 suggests that there is not enough evidence to understand dolphin intelligence fully. So sometimes in the dual short reading question, this is the last thing I want to mention really quick, you might get 2 answers that are both right, but one is more right than the other. So make sure the answer that focuses on the main ideas will be the most right answer. And even if the answer is right, but it's focusing on little details that aren't as important to the author's argument, it's the wrong answer. So the last strategy is double check, find the proof. So the right answer will always have proof. All parts of it, the first part and the second part, will have proof in the text, so make sure you go back and find that. If half of the question doesn't have proof, it's the wrong answer. The whole question has to be right. So that is the dual short reading section. Thank you very much for your time, students, and I will see you next class.